Good evening, all, and a very warm welcome to ICSE's special session on role of youth under the theme Education for Ecosystem Restoration. We just heard that this is the decade of ecosystem restoration, and we also heard in our plenary session that Mr. Atul Bagai said that if our ecosystems are healthy, if our climate is stable, the healthier would be our planet Earth and healthy will be the people of this planet. But there is no denying that biodiversity loss and climate change catastrophes are taking place across the globe. And this has led us to the crucial juncture where we have less than a decade to act on our changing climate and restore our ecosystem for our healthy future and safe world to live in. And what makes the role of youth crucial is that we have 1.8 billion youth, the largest generation of youth in the history, who are calling this world their home. And they are the one who would feel the impact of degradation and deteriorating ecosystem the most. Therefore, we at CE, Terry Policy Center, Climate Neutrality India, WWF India, and Terry has curated this special session where we will focus on the role of youth in taking leadership roles for ecosystem restoration and the opportunities for youth to engage actively. To learn more about the session and the role of youth in ecosystem restoration, it is my pleasure to invite Ms. Madhvi Joshi, Senior Program Director at CEE, having over 30 years of experience working with youth and education for sustainable development. Madhvi, ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Sheetal. And yeah, thanks. I look forward to this wonderful session and hearing from a lot of young people about what they've been doing in this area. Just to give a background, I thought I would just talk about a little bit, since the theme is the ecosystem restoration and climate literacy, and these two are really very, very connected aspects. And as we know that the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration was launched this year in June, and it's led by UNEP and FAO. It aims to massively scale up restoration of degraded and destroyed ecosystems as a proven measure to fight climate change and enhance food security, water supply, and biodiversity. So all these aspects are interconnected if we were talking of ecosystem restoration. And it's fundamental to achieving the sustainable development goals, as mentioned in the plenary earlier as well, mainly those related to climate change, poverty, eradication, food security, water and biodiversity conservation. And it's also a pillar of international environmental conventions, as also mentioned earlier, such as the Ramsar Conventions on wetlands and the Rio Conventions on biodiversity, desertification, and climate change. So it's a global issue, but also affects individually to each of us. The UN Decade, it aims to prevent, halt, and reverse the degradation of ecosystems on every continent and in every ocean, as the UNEP, as the ecosystem degradation website would say. I borrowed a lot from that today. It can help to end poverty, combat climate change, and prevent a mass extinction. And it will only succeed if everyone plays a part. To date, 115 countries have joined the campaign, making commitments to restore crucial ecosystems like forests, rivers, and grasslands. We heard about the commitment by India as well, this just earlier. And there is a UN Decade task force which has been set up, focusing on best practices. And they released 10 principles to guide restoration efforts. Basically looking at what would be the good practices in terms of restoration. And these 10 principles would guide action over the decade in ecosystem restoration. And of course, it is time to act, but it is also time to get restoration right. And that's something important. We do a lot of restoration, but what actions we take need to be long-term, need to be looked at in a way whether they are sustainable, whether they are looking at livelihood issues, whether they are inclusive, and all of that is part of these principles that that are part of the ecosystem restoration decade initiatives. There is a report which has been released recently. It's called Becoming Generation Restoration, Ecosystem Restoration for People, Nature and Climate. And it synthesizes this evidence of the state of degradation of the world's ecosystems and details economic, environmental, and social rewards that restoration can bring. So it has a lot of meaning to us in years to come. It's also one of the important ways of delivering nature-based solutions. And we need to learn from the way nature-based solutions are being practiced across the world for looking at food, looking at a number of all the issues related to climate and biodiversity conservation. So it's also about long-term, thinking long-term, not looking at quick fixes to solutions. And the beauty is that it can happen at any scale and everyone has a role to play. And young people, as yourselves, are critical to achieving this agenda, being impacted by degradation of ecosystems and related consequences, and can be influencers in their community, creating real impact. The UNEP major group of children and youth says that youth are now championing sustainability across the globe. Empowering youth will have a springboard effect to motivate more youth to join the movement of preserving and restoring ecosystems. Young people have already contributed to the strategy of the UN decade by hosting consultations in over 20 countries organized through the UNEP major group for children and youth. A young participant at the Global Landscape Forum, which was organized in New York in 2019, says what our generation needs to get a lot better at is not just talking about the issue of climate crisis, but also emphasizing the solutions. And CEE this year collaborated with the Global Center for Adaptation on a study investigating the role of young people in climate action. Some key messages from this study emphasize that there is a great potential in youth-led action, but young people are also not a resource to exploit. Their actions should never substitute the responsibility of grown-ups who hold political and economic power. It also has a message for governments which says young people are too little involved in decision making. Engaging them is consistent with climate adaptation, as it is also a question of intergenerational justice. We look forward to hearing from our youth speakers today about their work and be inspired by it. To end, I quote Tim Christopherson, coordinator of the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration at UNEP. This is your decade, and your actions will be very important to make this a success. It is still possible to turn this moment of crisis into a moment of hope, a bit like Star Wars. May the forest be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhavi ji, for your inspiring words, setting the tone for the session and giving us this holistic perspective also, that why we are here together and having this special session on the role of youth. But before moving forward, let's take a poll to understand the importance of ecosystem restoration. We have prepared a few questions for all of you, and depending on the time we will have, we'll keep popping up these fun questions. Here, may I request our technology team to display the first question for our participants. It says restoring 15% of converted lands in the right place could prevent dash of the project species extinction. And if we can just have around 30 seconds to answer the question. Is it possible to also have the feedbacks which we are receiving from the participants? If can we display it on the screen? Right. And that's right, like 100% of our audience has said 60%, and which is true. So, I mean, just by this question, we can understand that if we just restore 50% of the converted land in the right places, it could prevent 60% of the project species in extinction. And that's the beauty and power of ecosystem restoration. Now coming back, it is important young people are involved at all levels of decision making and action towards sustainability, as Madhvi ji mentioned. Ecosystem restoration's efforts need to take cognizance of potential resources, creativity, and innovation that young people can contribute. Today, we are joined by 6 young leaders who are making the real difference in their community through their efforts on the ground. They will share their inspirational stories and learning with us. With this, I would first like to invite Ms. Kamini Singh. She is a climate reality leader and working with the Spursh Foundation, where she is working with the youth community on ecosystem restoration in tribal affected areas of Odisha. Kamini, over to you.
Thank you, Sheetal. I'm very excited to share my story with you all. So let's quickly move to the slides. We started this Youth for SDG program in Tribal Aspirational District Raigada in Odisha to promote youth engagement and to bring forward rural tribal youth, especially girls, on social development goals, sustainable development goals, socio-economic and environmental inclusiveness, sustainability, and to generate employment and livelihood opportunities for them. So these are the strategies and process which we adopted in engaging these youth in climate action. What we did, we formed youth clubs and Balika mandals in tribal villages. Then these clubs took over the leadership in their community affairs. They were kind of resource person or the contact person for us in the community. They do weekly sanitation drives. All these are led by the clubs itself. We have provided them with the sanitation kits. Plantation drives are also led by the clubs. Occasionally, we do career counselings on green career opportunities. I would like to mention that these youth are basically dropouts. Like they have studied till standard 5th, 8th, or say 10th. So accordingly, we organize career counseling sessions for them. Then coming to digital exposure of these youths, when we started our intervention in these villages, what we observed was huge digital divide. So to bridge the digital gap, we planned for digital learning centers or say spaces in these villages. But steady electricity and 24 hours electricity is a big challenge. So we came up with solar powered centers, solar powered digital learning centers. So right now we have 10 solar powered digital learning centers in tribal villages, and we have trained 530 rural youths on digital literacy and soft skill in just 15 months. And it is a continuous program. We are still training other youths as well. And you'll be amazed to know that 72% of the beneficiaries are the first time user of digital device. So it is a very good opportunity for these people to learn and grow in these centers. These centers are multi-purpose center, as you can see in the pictures. We have also provided community library with 24 hours internet facility and a trainer who can train them in their local language. So after career counseling and digital exposure, we move towards their livelihood promotion. As we all know, fashion industry is one of the most polluting industry in the world, and eco-friendly fashion, sustainable fashion is the need of the hour. And this has been made possible by these beautiful girls, which you can see in the slide. So we have formed a producer group consisting of 25 girls from a village, Bada Chandali, situated in Raigada district. We gave them training on designing and production of bamboo-based biodegradable jewelry. And you'll be very happy to know that these girls have done a business of over 2 lakh rupees in just 3 months. You can see them wearing jewelry designed and produced by them. So coming to Green Campus program, as you all know, one of the flagship program of Climate Reality India. We started this program in 2019 in Raigada. We have 7 schools registered under Green Campus program. We have trained 186 teachers on climate change and sustainable development goals. And these schools are now adopting sustainable and green measures in the school. Few schools are also ready for the final audit. We also have Climate Change and Sustainability Center in Shri Shri University So what we are doing, we are not only working with schools, but colleges and universities as well. And we are covering youth of all age groups. So coming to this very famous Mission Million Fruit Trees from Climate Reality Odisha, this program was conceived in the backdrop of Cyclone Fani in 2019 with an aim to plant 1 million fruit trees in 5 years. So we have planted 6.5 lakh trees in Odisha coast, and this Mission Million Fruit Trees has created a lasting impact among the environmentalists and other climate activists in the state to undertake this plantation drive in the whole state, across the state. So these are my learnings, few of the learnings. One of them is youth should be given awareness and sensitization input on climate change and related issues, rather than just continuing the environmental conservation. Second is Climate Reality Odisha has formed a Climate Reality Network, taking all district representatives, all of them are youth, which gives a hope to influence policy decision of the government in coming days, later stage. So we can replicate this model in other states as well. And one of the important point, it is important to connect youth on climate issues, contexting their localities. For example, if I'll be speaking about Melbourne or say Paris, the story from those places with these people with whom I'm working with, they'll be least interested. So why not to bring stories or realities from their own localities to them, so that they'll feel more attached towards these kinds of issues. And the other is Green Campus program is very effective if in incubating and practicing local solutions to climate challenge. What we are observing here, teachers and students, they are coming up with very good ideas to replicate this in their campuses or in their villages as well. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamini, and thank you for sharing your amazing work and learning, and especially how in the whole process you are empowering and inspiring many other young girls and women through your own leadership. I'm sure when you are working with them, you are also in a way empowering and giving them enough confidence to work in the sustainability. So more power to you. Moving next, we have Miss Neha Sahi, UNEP's Ted Turner champion. She'll be sharing their work on urban stream restoration in Vadodara, Gujarat.
Hi everyone.
Neha, over to you.
Thank you, Sheetal. So hello everyone, my name is Neha and I am from Vadodara and currently based in Bangalore. And I'd like for all of you to remember this picture of this bridge clogged up with plastic waste and solid waste. And moving forward, we started working on the stream about 2 years ago as a part of plastic tide turners and in continuation to my master's dissertation. And this is a 7.5 kilometer stream. And it's directly connected to the riverine system of Vishwamitri in Vadodara, which is the lifeline of the city, and inhabits crocodiles and turtles and a large flora and fauna around it. And the area from where this stream begins is peri-urban and there are agricultural fields, so it's quite cleaner over there. But when it enters towards the city, it gets clogged up with waste. It has unchecked disposal of sewage, and there are no STPs, which is the sewage treatment plants, placed around it. So we started mapping it out just for the curiosity, and then later we found out that this is a natural rivulet and not just a nala as it was claimed. Later on, we started doing the scientific assessment with respect to what the velocity of the stream was, what was the water quality, what was the soil quality around it, and how deep the stream was in different locations because of encroachment on all the banks and all the regions surrounding the stream and the buffer zones that should be there. Which led us to planning a program for 2 phases. The phase 1 was primary assessment, in which my team and I, 15 students, we planned and assessed the stream's characteristics, understood what the water quality was and how we can make it better. But we understood that under the Bellagio principle, it's believed that all the stakeholders should be involved in conservation projects, and there should be a multi-scale project which includes the locals, the public policy makers, the public decision makers, and the architects, and whoever is responsible for the conservation program to sustain itself. So we met local advisors and civil engineers who told us that the stream is not even being mapped. because it's not that long, but it's directly connected to a river, and the waste directly pours into the Vishwamitri Channel and then ultimately into the Arabian Sea. So we did a health and awareness survey around the stream because were a lot of informal settlements around it. And then we did the management of solid waste. And then ultimately the goal was to stabilize the banks which were encroached and reduce the unnatural erosion on the surrounding of the stream. So during the waste management, we were lucky enough that the pandemic hadn't hit us at the time in February, and we were able to gather about 350 students from the Faculty of Science and Faculty of Commerce at the Maharaja Sayajirao University, and about 700 kg of waste was removed from the banks in one day, and from which 300 was thermocol, which we tried to repurpose using acetone in order to sanitize it and in order to remold it into these small planters that you can see in the second picture and in small wall hangings and stuff. As for the dry waste and the organic waste that we found, we had a student who was working on wormy composting, and she took it into her hands and completed it as a compost. Along with that, we had the team members who met the informal settlement residents and discussed with them what kind of zoonotic diseases they were facing during the rains, what were the problems they were facing during the flooding, because we've been seeing flooding and due to flash floods and due to clogging of bridges and waste in our rivers for the past 5 years now. And it was very helpful of the local newspapers to cover the information in vernacular languages in order to make it more accessible and understandable to the locals, and not just in a scientific manner. And later on, we kept monitoring the stream throughout the 2020. This was January, March, and August, and it was an immense change that we were able to observe. Also, from March onwards, we were not able to monitor because of the pandemic, but still somehow we observed that the stream has its own natural resilience, which it was able to sustain itself. And in September, the bridge work was supposed to begin, but there were a few drawbacks and a few setbacks, due to which the phase 2, we couldn't begin the construction of the new bridge, which provided a more free-flowing model for the stream. But yeah, these are the local residents of Bhuki and also the star of the project, and they were loved and appreciated everywhere. And this picture was clicked by my friend, and we had turtles and other fauna. We were told that there were wild foxes and everything roaming around Bhuki when it was not that encroached. And so we started working on the bioengineering aspect of the stream using geotextile. So we did not have a lot of students or a lot of manpower because of the pandemic in March, but somehow 5 of us were able to manage and call up a bulldozer and put stones around it in order to start the bamboo and the geotextile fiber work. And we sewed it ourselves. And then this is how it looked in June 2021. This was the bank which was eroded, and construction waste was deposited on the banks of this. And we were able to put a geotextile fiber over it with support of bamboos, and nothing that would actually, even if the system or even if the structure would fail and fall into the stream, it won't affect it. It's all biodegradable. And that is how we concluded. And this is the last image that I'd like people to see. Like, this was when we got the bridge clean, and we had immense support from the alumni and the researchers at MS University, because this was the first time in many years that the stream was cleaner and the bridge was more beautiful than what it used to be. So yeah, I thank Mobius Foundation and CE. They have always supported this project, and we were even part of the Youth for Earth campaign and awards. And CE has always been there since the plastic tide turners. So yeah, thank you everyone for having me.
Thank you, Sneha, and we wish you and your team all the best. Because in almost every city we see such scenes of dirty nalas or a stream, and I'm sure many of our young participants who have joined us today have learned a lot from your project and inspired to take to transform their own surroundings. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Next, we have Mr. Samarth Khanna, a 20 years old who is rewilding the urban spaces. He's working on a number of sites in Delhi NCR where he's creating habitats and eco zones close to the cities. Now I invite Samarth to share his story.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. So I'm Samat from Faridabad, and today I'm here to share with you a story of a project, one of its kind in the Delhi NCR, that is the mini forest of Faridabad. And mini forest of Faridabad, to give you an idea, is a small patch of land. Here on your screen, you can see a uh, green island next to a busy roundabout and a residential area. And this land was a place from where, on an average, 300 cars pass through this spot in Mana. So, to give you all an idea, as you all may be knowing, that NCR, the National Capital Region, is a highly polluted area, and Faridabad has been a city which has topped all the charts in terms of pollution. So, this was a site bang on the source of one of the pollution over here in the city. So it was important for us to identify that this is the patch of land where you have some possibility of doing a change and solving the pollution problem. But the reality was that you had a bigger problem over here on this side, that was the waste. And this was the waste over here at the site, where the site was covered with heaps of garbage, and we had to almost segregate each and every bit of the waste so that we could manage it in a better way. So this was the picture from the site in 2017, where there used to be heaps of garbage, and you had children helping us to clean the particular patch of land. And to give you an idea, that till date from 2017, we have cleared so far 5,000 kgs of plastic from the small patch of land in Faridabad that we now call the mini forest. And the problem here was that the waste was not just present on the surface, it was present below the soil surface as well. So you can see here one of our crew members helping us to clean the garbage from the various layers of soil. Over here you can see you have the construction and demolition waste, you have the plastic, you have the polythene, you have the glass, you have the blades, and you also have the syringes, the biomedical waste too, being disposed over here. And whenever you have waste in contact with the soil or anything, any medium on which the plant grows, it tends to have some or the other impact. It's going to pollute the soil further, it's going to release the ions into that. So the soil which we inherited at this mini forest was completely polluted, and the land was barren. So anyways, the cleaning happened, and we had children as young as 4-year-old, 6 years old, and the average age was 8 to 11 years old, working to bring a change at this mini forest in Faridabad. So you had the children started the plantation helping us dig the dig the pits for the saplings, and also giving a chance for the herbs, shrubs, and trees, and even the climbers. So this is how the site initially looked when the plantation was done. So you can see the plants are barely able to survive, right? The land is so polluted. And the soil was so hard that it was almost impossible for roots to spread their area. And this was the challenge over here. So these are the visuals from 2017, and here's how it looked this year during the rainy season. So this picture was clicked just a few days back at the mini forest, a site which was once a garbage yard, now converted into a biodiverse eco zone where various plants and animals live together as ecological communities. So this is the grassland of the mini forest. At the mini forest, we have a woodland, we have a grassland, and also a third habitat which exists, that is the wetland. So this is the team of the mini forest, our core team, all our young children who helped us out. And this is how the wetland came into the existence at the mini forest. A pit was dug, and we used the natural sealants to layer all these areas of the wetland. And here's how it looks today. A wetland full of aquatic life and the flora and the fauna which live there. And here's how we feel our wetland. Faridabad is flooded. The streets of Faridabad are flooded after the rain. So all this rainwater is allowed and poured into this wetland, where the water is used by our plants, fish, and various other creatures that live over it. These are the dragonflies that live at the mini forest, which control the population of mosquitoes. Believe me that one dragonfly eats up to 200 mosquitoes in one day. So we have mini forests standing out as a habitat to control the mosquito menace as well. So when I talk about the diversity at the mini forest, when we had started, we had no butterflies, no moths, in fact, over there. And as of now, we have more than 28 species of butterflies at the mini forest, and it has been recognized as a butterfly hotspot by the Times of India in the whole of South Haryana. And you have now 130 species of plants native to the Aravalis and the Yamuna landscape. in the mini forest Faridabad. And when we had started, we had just 6 species, and now it has risen to 130 species, which is a great number. And when I talk about the plants and when I talk about the butterflies, you can't ignore the birds. We have around 48 species of birds in the mini forest, all of all shapes and sizes. And you had the Indian paradise flycatcher this year, which is the big white bird you can see, and also this little tiny bird on the lower right corner. This is known as the Hume's leaf warbler. It migrates all the way from uh, parts of Bhutan and to spend winters in areas like the mini forest, which was once a garbage yard. So at the mini forest, we have tried to repurpose the construction and demolition waste as well to create a walkway to give our visitors a chance to experience the biodiversity and the ecosystem over here. So the construction and demolition waste equal to the weight of 33 Asiatic elephants has been repurposed to give this form of a walkway at our mini forest. And the same place which was once a garbage yard has now become a place for environmental education for the children over there. So you can see school children before the COVID times who had come to the mini forest to understand the ecology and the ecosystems over there. And now that we are working on multiple sites in Delhi and NCR, we have our own nursery where we are growing saplings native to our ecosystem to support these projects which are happening there. And we were thankful to the Hindustan Times for covering our story. And thank you so much, the organizers, for giving me a chance to share the work which I have done at the mini forest Faridabad. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us. And we all can see how passionately you are involved in the restoration work. And we need many youth leaders like you. So more power to you. Keep inspiring us. Thank you so much. With this, now I invite our next youth speaker, Mr. Chinmay Prakash Sawant. He's member of Global Youth Biodiversity Network, and I invite him to share his work on restoration of grassland ecosystems in Grasslands region.
Hello everyone, myself Chinmay Prakash Sawant. I am an Indian Youth Biodiversity Network Maharashtra State Coordinator. This is a Kiraksal village that is a hill name called Dambi Hills, and you see this team that working in the grasslands of this region. I tell you first about the specification of this region. The region is coming under drought region of the Deccan Plateau in Maharashtra. As we seen that in the state of Maharashtra, the Satara district have a very diversity of biodiversity because the Western Ghats, Mahabaleshwar, Koyna region, and Sayade Tiger Reserve are very vast. And from that eastern region, having a very less rainfall and have different types of grassland patches diversity. So it is a very important to see and document this biodiversity. So grasslands diversity, the grassland ecosystems are primary producers of the grasses. So grasslands are very much important. As you've seen that this is the Dambi Hills in the rainy season, and this is a first slide you've seen that it is in summer season. So what is the difference you've seen in that in the rainy season also the plantation work or the watershed management plan is done in the grassland. So somewhat effect is done, not a very. So this can be effect to the farmers, these animals and other systems. Overall, you've seen that 24% of the Indian land is covered with the grassland. So grasslands is very much important. So what is the importance of the grasslands? It's food for many grazing animals, habitat for birds, food for humans. So this region, you've seen that the photo of the Wagzai lakes of our Kiraksal region. The watershed management plan has been done here, not so in a detail that not to harming the animals or not to harming the flora and fauna. The region should have to get a scarcity of water. So first thing in this region having the water scarcity. So when the water is come there, then it's a diversity is formed here. So in the earlier gazelles or antelopes are in the very large numbers, but local extinctions are due to the habitat destruction and the drought regions. So we work on that to how to restore this ecosystem. That here you seen that all the grasses and trees are there. In the previous, this is not like this situation. It's a very barren land. So anybody will come here and see that this is all what is barren and what is wildlife is there. But we restore that wildlife by trees, not to cut the trees. On the three important implementation, that not to cutting the trees, first of all, then second hunting, and third is overgrazing. The overgrazing also lost the diversity of grasses. So we first implement on this with the help of the Gram Panchayat and Forest Department. We work on this. So what's need to be done? Grasslands are very much ecosystems. So carnivore conservation is a very much important in that. Indian wolves are there, striped hyena is there. So Indian wolves now only study that Indian wolves are a very endangered wolf species in India. Around 2,500 or 3,000, around 2,500 or 3,000 wolves are remain in overall in India. So it's a very critical or to have a destruction. To save the wolves, we have to be save their grassland ecosystems. So village environment and local community involvement is very much important. That's what we will done in Kiraksar. So you've seen that this is overall hotspot regions of our region. The Dambi Hills, the Kiraksal Lake, the Kuran Forest, that Nadi grasslands, or Zamba Hill is a region, small scrub forest type region. So it is in Marathi. So I will explain in that in English. No worry. So Dambi Hills, you've seen that what is situation in the first image and what is the situation in this. So it's a very current forest in the summer. You've seen that the in the previous slide I seen it's a very overall blank. So now it's how it's in. So ecosystem restoration in the grasslands is very much important. So we organize various sessions on the grasslands ecosystem. The villagers involvement is local. The Pani Foundation, Dr. Avinash Kaur is also come to Kiraksal and they addressing to us. So Bird Week in Kiraksal have been celebrated very vast. You've seen that the grassland region having a very diversity of so Bird Week should have to be celebrated like this. So local involvement, forest department or students, they can easy to see that documentation what is there in our region. So butterfly and bird watching, it's a very important thing to be document or to see. So we are organizing various awareness sessions by attending. We are taking the local community, forest department on the organization, and we are implementing that. So Kiraksal is the first village to celebrate International Wolf Day in India, not only the Maharashtra. So it all the days we are celebrating. Tiger Days we are celebrating, Elephant Day we are celebrating, not celebrating the Wolf Day. So Wolf Day is celebrating international at a very vast level. That is all the forest department take in charge. Village development community will take that in charge, and they celebrate in the vast level. That's all the news features in the Maharashtra. That is a very great thing to us. Now only Dr. Clement Ben, CCF or Chief Conservator Forest of Kolhapur region have come to the Kiraksar recently, and they also said that conservation reserve will have to be declared, or we have to be proceed for that to save these grassland ecosystems. Thank you.
Thank you, Chinmay. Thank you for sharing your wonderful work. Next, we have Ms. Mrunali Roth. Again, she's member of Global Youth Biodiversity Network, and she's the thus to present her research work on restoration of restoring vulnerable corridors at Navegaon and Tadopa Tiger Reserve. Mrunali, over to you. And I request all our youth speakers to keep their talk under 5 minutes as they are really running short of time.
Thank you so much for introducing, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. So today's my topic is ecological restorations for coal mines and degraded land. Coal mines in India. Coal Mines in India Limited has the 352 mines, of which the 158 are the underground, and the 174 open cast and 20 mixed mines. Important coal mines area in India includes the Jharkhand, Meghalaya, Maharashtra, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Madhya Pradesh. So you can see in the map the distribution of the coal mines reservoir by states. India being the rich in the excellent hard rocks is a reserve of various types of mineral resources, distribution of the coals in India in the two categories: Gondwana coal fields that are 250 million year old, and terrestrial coal fields that are 50 to 60 million year old. Mining impact of the wildlife. Surface coal mine is the destructive process is required a large area of land to disturb it, resulting in number of the environmental concerns that can have both direct and indirect impact on wildlife. Coal mining has a serious lasting negative impact on wildlife. In the short term, species can be killed or displaced from their habitat. In the long term, many wildlife species face the impact resulting from their habitat and being destroyed. Construction and mining activities can cause the wildlife deaths and disturb the displaced wildlife population. Typically, direct mortalities from the mining activities occurs as far as the result of the interaction between wildlife and mining equipment, increases the traffic and other development. Other impact of the coal mining includes air pollution and water contamination. The exhausts from heavy equipment and transport vehicles contain harmful gases, including sulfur dioxide and nitrous oxide, as well as the transmetal such as lead. Surface the water contamination from increases the sediment loads can cause the decreases in the aquatic oxygen content and light penetration, reducing the growth aquatic plant and resulting the mortality of the fish and other aquatic species developed depend on the plants and food source. Coal mining displays and wildlife population in the most obvious way by forcing the wildlife living on that landscape to move. The survival likelihood of wildlife species that are the mobile enough to avoid the development decreases when they are forced to move to location already occupied by other wildlife. Full and effective ecosystem restoration. Some species depend on very particular native habitat. Restoring the mined land to meet the needs native wildlife and plant species is the significant long-term challenges. The goals is the establish a diverse, productive, functional, and sustainable ecosystem of the wildlife of native plants that as resemble the diversity and the health that existed before the land were minded. Successful reclamation involves meeting certain criteria, which in the most states includes the replacing the topsoil, restoring disturbed the water flow, preventing erosion, and reestablishing a diverse, effective, and permanent vegetative cover. All through the important these standard are not restoring quality wildlife habitat due to the challenges of restoring native wildlife habitat in the arid region. Not a single mined area in the has been fully restored to its pre-mining wildlife habitat condition. Mining always permanently alert the ecosystem and long-term and cumulative impact. The coals mining and subsequent lack of recommendation are the significant and permanent for wildlife. What can we do? Agencies need to stop issuing permits for new mines in area that are not being reclaimed. Agencies need to stop issuing permits to companies who have at the reclaim already mined land. Ensure that wildlife habitat is actually restored to mining conditions and functionality and is not merely restored to aesthetically pleasing condition. Ensure that the company are achieving adequate native plant diversity and restoring topographically features as part of reclamation process. Need to track invasive species throughout the reclamation. reclamation process, as the reclaimed land is more susceptible to non-native species. Invasive species are the current barrier to re-establishment to permitting conditions in wildlife habitat needs to ensure that the bonding amounts and terms are significant to fully restore wildlife habitat. Take the support in indigenous and local community in the full restoration process. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mrinali, for sharing your project. And indeed, that research is integral to any kind of ecosystem restoration project. And we wish you best for your project. Next, last but not the least, we have in line Mr. Shedrup Dorji from Youth Advocacy Network, Bhutan. He's working towards education and empowering youth in Bhutan.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, everybody. My name is Shedrup Dorji. I'm a founder of Youth Advocacy Network, Bhutan. It's a pleasure to be amongst all the young leaders who are making difference in their community. And at Youth Advocacy Network, Bhutan, we are advocating for inclusion of young people in decision-making processes at all levels, in policies or programs related to young people. So today, I'd like to take you all through how Bhutanese young people are doing their part in restoring our ecosystem. So first of all, let me try to situate the context of Bhutanese youth. So more than 50% of young people actually comprises the population of Bhutan. So demographically, we are quite a young nation, and interestingly, the millennials of this time are also the first generation of a democratic Bhutan. So it has just been more than a decade of democracy. We are still learning the process. However, despite being the first generation experiencing democracy, young people are actively taking part in all the civic spaces and trying to drive positive change in a society. So basically, because of not really unique per se, but a different youth policy that encompasses the holistic development philosophy of cross-national happiness. So this makes young people to contribute in the area of 4 pillars of GNH. However, today I'm going to talk about youth and environment, and environment is one pillar of gross national happiness. So in a recent period of time, we have this growing number of informal and organized young people who are taking their own initiatives at community level, at various level, impacting societies. So there are about like 15 youth groups registered with Young Bhutan Network. It's an umbrella organization for youth-led organizations in Bhutan. So there are more than 8 youth groups who are working in the area of waste management, environmental conservation, climate education and action. So Youth Advocacy Network Bhutan, that's my team. We are working with UNDP Bhutan, the national NGOs, WWF Bhutan, and the Royal Government of Bhutan to empower young people to take environmental actions at various levels. So we are currently working with 10 colleges. It's in Bhutan, 10 colleges. That's like Royal University of Bhutan. So we are carrying out the self-empowerment program, engaging more than 50 young people. So we are involving them and providing them with skills and platform for them to educate themselves on climate crisis that we are going through. And also we are providing the tools such as design thinking to innovate ideas, local actions to address the environmental issues that are affecting the community. So if I may share some of the interventions that they have made so far. So this is the plantation trees for future. So the idea was that planting their own oxygen. So this was initiated by a group of young people in the capital. And this is another campaign inspired by the Chipko movement that happened, that took place in India amongst the farmer. So inspired from that, young people actually are doing this campaign online. So I'd like to request all the participants here to also join this tree hugger campaign. You can just hug a tree and post it on your social media handles. So it's worth an experience. You get to connect with the trees and also absorb some positive energy. And here is another intervention. There's a group of young women graduates from one of the college. So as soon as they graduated, they're working on transforming kitchen waste into an organic manure, because they found that more than 60% of waste generated in capital city in Bhutan is from kitchen food waste. So they are preventing this food waste from going to the landfill and polluting. So these are some of the few uh, from the many interventions that young people are making. There's a few stories that I'm trying to share with you all here. So that's all from my side. And I really believe that young people are genuinely playing their part, not only to save the future, but they are really saving our present right here, right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dorji. Very well said. And thank you for sharing the interesting work you are doing. And thank you, young leaders, for being with us today. And I believe many of our participants would like to interact with you and learn more about the amazing work which you are all are doing. So at ICSE platform, we also have a networking space which will be available from 5 to 6:30 p.m. after the concluding plenary. So I highly suggest and request both our young panelists and participants to join the networking room and use that opportunity to connect and interact with each other. In this session, we also wanted to highlight that youth need the requisite knowledge and skills to be able to participate actively and take leadership roles in ecosystem restoration. For this, they'll require platforms and avenues where their voices is heard and opinions considered. And to highlight this, we have two distinguished guests with us, Dr. Livleen Kahol, Associate Director, Environment Education and Awareness from TERI, and Ms. Radhika Suri, Director, Environment and Education at WWF India. So, Dr. Livleen, if I can start with you, and if I can request you to share some of the platform and avenues TERI has for our young leaders, or maybe for other organizations who are working with the youth network, which they can join. And along with this, if you can also give some of the insights based on your experience, that how is it working with younger generation through some of the platforms.
Thank you, Sheetal. Wonderful to be here with all the students. And I was listening and I was watching all the presentations, a very, very vibrant gathering. And also ICSE has done, I would say ICSE as a person, because it's a conference of people and people with like-minded thoughts, and bringing together organizations like CE, WWF, TERI, all of them on a common platform is really a tough job, but nice to be here. So what I'm going to now share with the students would also resonate in what Radhika mentions a little later, or what you have been hearing since now is. But there is a point where I want to start, and I'll say I want to finish. Finish because that is from where you start, the youth start. We have gone through the phases of work. What we need to do now is we need to create opportunities for you to perform. And this is a responsibility of all these organizations where we work. And at TERI, we have a very, very robust youth program We have established partnerships with UN agencies. We have established partnerships with multilaterals, bilaterals, because sustainability is a key for all our initiatives. When we link with students, we start from an early age group of 11 years. We don't let yeah, we don't want you to go off after a year or so. We continue working with you through our initiatives till about 10 to 15 years, till you are ready to experiment your ideas at the ecopreneur level. So we do events. Events are more to catch the attention of all of you, like events like we'll be just observing on 16th September on Ozone Day. Then we do campaigns and activities which run over years. Like there's a very active platform called Youth Climate Conclave, which we are doing with GIZ and European Union delegation. We reach out to students across the country. I saw the presentations, how you are talking about work being done in Odisha and other regions. So here is an opportunity for you to join with us, because we are routing our work through the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So we do look at a very robust regional participation. We want to move away from metros. We want to go to all the towns and cities of the country, like our project Green Olympiad, which reaches out across the country. And also, from Green Olympiad, we have started an initiative for colleges, which is for a youth called Geo for You. So these activities, Terry hosts several international conferences like the Adaptation Future, which is just going to happen now in October, and our annual feature like World Sustainable Development Summit. So at these conferences, there is opportunity for youth to participate directly as speakers, as participants, and also as delegates, because it is our duty that you should not go on a activist mode without enough knowledge about a particular issue. Our environment education profile rests on Terry's strength on thematic areas. And these thematic areas are energy, water, waste, climate change, and biodiversity. All your projects are interdisciplinary. You want to experiment and speak about action programs, but what is the content that you are going to talk about? If you speak about content, it will prevent you from going on an activist mode. A knowledge discussion, a knowledgeable debate is what we prefer, which is like our forthcoming ICSE is also going to see a youth debate. So we want you to debate, we want you to express your opinion, but we want to do a robust training on environment issues before you come forward with your views. So that is more or less what we do. And we have our offices in Delhi, Bangalore, Maharashtra, that is Mumbai, Guwahati, and also Mukteshwar and Goa. So these are our field offices. So whichever office you feel is convenient for you, just walk in, write to us, see what you want to do, and we will find out opportunities for you as interns, volunteers, delegates, participants, because our strength is you, and we look forward to a more robust engagement. Thank you, Sheetal. I hope that has been.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Dr. Levine, very interesting information, and I'm sure our participants have taken note of interesting projects which Terry is doing, and they'll hope they'll get in touch with you. So my next question is for Ms. Radhika Suri, Director, Environment Education at WWF India. We know that WWF India is pioneer for its work in ecosystem restoration. So if I may ask, I would like to know that how you are engaging youth in the ecosystem work, and if any message you have for our youth participants.
Yeah, thanks, Sheetal. I'm very happy to be here and totally inspired hearing the youth. We at WWF have always have believed that, this generation is different and is very, very, has a lot of potential, is very capable. And I think so that's come out through these various presentations. And congratulations to all of you, and wish you all the very best. Um, Sheetal will talk about two, three things. One is about the initiatives that we do at WWF and the youth programs that we do, and a little message for the youth that I want to share. So I know we, hear a lot about the problems and the issues that are there. But my message to all of you is that there are two ways to take it, right? There's one way of, looking at it, it's hopeless, it's really huge, it's doom. But the other thing is challenge accepted. Let's learn about it. Let's look for solutions. Let's keep ourselves informed, and let's participate and take actions. The one thing that I definitely feel, and when we have again now, have this whole decade of ecosystem restoration, as you youth become very active, and when we have seen these presentations from Samarth and the person who spoke about grasslands, do question a lot is what I would say. I always go back to the story of plastics. Somebody created it because trees were being cut, and the whole idea was, there's a solution. But the person who created it put it back and said, I'll reuse it, and we made it disposable. So my message to you is, while yes, it is a decade, it's a really short time, do ask questions. Today we have technology with us, we have a lot of information with us. So whatever you do it with absolute wisdom and the energy, I think so all of you have already. At WWF, we are a network. We're there in over 100 countries, and we have a growing youth vertical that's growing across, where we're bringing youth from across the world to talk to each other. And that's, the interesting part of now, the world we are in now. So one thing I definitely feel is that, we need to build a voice. Advocacy is extremely important, and one has to be quite fearless about. So participating in, platforms like GYBN is absolutely, you must do it and build your voice. In WWF, we have 2-3 ways in which, we kind of work with the youth. One is we work on our volunteering program. So we do a lot of programs across the country, and youth can volunteer with us and participate with us. We have the Tide Turner Challenge that we do with UNEP and CE. So that is another way of, participating with us on a focused, program and a, direction. The one of my favorites is ECHO. Because I do believe that, the interesting thing about youth today is that, you're able to think out of the box. And ECHO is one program that we've been running for a few years now, runs across the country for university students, in which you are given a theme for the year. There are SDGs that you have to address, and you come up with a proposal, implement it, and it's a challenge that happens across the country. And we do also encourage you to, work on green entrepreneurship. Innovation is the way. Some, disruptive thinking also needs to happen. We can't be linear about things. And ECHO gives an opportunity for that too. So I would just say that, you should, you can participate in all these areas, and keep doing the good stuff you're doing. Do read a lot. Do keep yourselves, updated with things. Things are changing very fast. So it's really important. We also have a program which is called MCOP, which is a simulation of a COP. We felt that, young leaders should know about how governance happens, and that's another program that we partner with CBD on. So yeah, so that's a little plethora of things we do. And yeah, we recently launched working on a green literature festival, so we also feel we should popularize green literature and learn about the environment. So that's all I have to say. And thank you for having me here, and all the very best. And all of you continue this enthusiasm. We will find a solution to this for sure. So thank you.
Thank you, Radhika ji, for your inspiring message and sharing various and very interesting programs which are there for the youth participants. And with this, thank you, everyone. This has been truly an inspiring and enriching session. And with this, I quickly hand over to Ms. Madhvi Joshi to present the concluding remarks.
I think we're running out of time, Sheetal, so I will not take very long. It's been a wonderful session. I think we've learned so much, and there is a lot of hope as I see there's so much positivity. And some of the key things that come out include, the importance of action at an individual level, but also being able to provide them the opportunity, provide young people the opportunity to work on aspects related to the concerns that they feel very strongly about, and that be that in their college or be that in their communities they live, or as influencers, so there is a lot of scope for young people to actually make a difference. Also looking at the newer kind of design thinking skills and systems thinking kind of skills, which are important when we're talking about sustainability. I think that demands a lot of different ways of thinking, and I think that's my takeaway, that we need to as educators look at ways in which we are engaging with young people and ensuring that there is the decisions and the critical questioning continues. So thank you so much, and thanks everybody for participation. I would like to thank all the organizations involved: WWF, Climate Reality, Terry Policy, Terry, to be a part of this youth session. We have pulled off a marathon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you at concluding plenary. Thank you so much.
Thank you for moderating beautifully. Thanks so much, Sheetal.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you at concluding plenary. Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.